Alright, so no intro today, just jumping right into the bench work. Now what you're seeing here is wide grip paused bench, and I do this every Tuesday. The goal today was to do 5 sets and work up to a heavy set of 6. So here you're seeing my first set of 225. I think there's a rep or two, I think it was the second one where I forgot it was supposed to be pause again, but I feel really good here, really comfortable. I'm trying to go as wide as possible, and you'll see here from a couple of angles, this is pretty much as wide as I can go. So you're watching my second set here, and this is of 235. Again, trying to really flare out. This is as far as I can go, given that the racks are where they are. But this feels really good, and I feel really powerful, and I guess this is one of the benefits of having long arms. And this is something that Dan has worked in as part of the bench program, so again, I'm benching twice a week right now, and I feel like it's really helping me. Now, you can't really see the weights here, but this is actually 245, so we bumped the weight up again 10 pounds. Now, what I try to do with these sets where he gives me to work up to a heavy set is just really try to improve upon what I did last time. And last time I kind of dilly-dallied with a lot of lower weight reps and sets, and then jumped up at the very end. This time I tried to go heavy all throughout. So here you see my next working set. This is of 265. Again, for these warm-up, well, not technically warm-up, but for these working sets up to the heavy set, it says between 6 to 8 reps, so I try to get 8 reps where possible, and I'm able to do that here, so I still feel pretty good. And from this angle, it looks like I'm visibly excited. It looks like I have a big old BBC, but let's just be honest, that's probably CGI because my BBC is hibernating, I think, somewhat permanently. So that brings us up to our last and heaviest set of 280 pounds. Again, the goal here was to get 6. There you see my spotter Sam saying, "What's up?" And I got a spotter for this set only because this is 5 pounds heavier than last week, and plus I'm not using the rack with the safety arm, so just want to be sure. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get this for all 6 reps, but it actually went fairly smooth in my opinion. And I thought that until I actually watched this clip back and saw how much of my gut was hanging out, and it made me feel a little bad about myself, but I didn't dwell on it too long because I got the shorts and wraps and collar clip color combo going, so that made everything all better. But you see that last one's a little bit of a grinder, but again, I felt really strong here. So after that, we jumped more into the volume work, and the next thing was 5 sets of 8 of close grip bench press. I used 235 pounds here. You're gonna have to take my word for it because you can't see the ends of it due to this angle, but I wanted to show you guys where I put my hands, which is about a thumb length away from the knurling, on the inside knurling that is. Only showing the first set here only because there's no point in showing 4 additional sets of that. We then jumped into 5 sets of flat dumbbell flies, and I'm using a whopping 42.5 pounds. I know y'all are jelly of that weight, all kinds of gains. But for this, again, I don't like to overdo it with weight because the volume is so high, and although this first set is really easy, honestly towards the 5th set it does get more difficult despite the fact that I keep the weight static. I'm really just going for a good stretch here instead of just ego lifting with a lot more weight and potentially snapping my shit up. But again, you're just seeing the first set of 5 here. From there, we then moved on to this exercise, which I have grown to hate in the last couple of weeks. Just a 1-arm dumbbell extension, not using heavy weights here. This was 4 sets of 10, using a 25-pounder here. And I think this is really kind of showing you my shoulder immobility issue. So the fact that my shoulder doesn't really have good rotation when it comes to the back, something I'm working on, especially this left hand. Look at this, I just can't get comfortable. It's pretty fun. I have this thing of say big. I have the thing where I pretend to be a power lifter, yet I have trouble doing 25-pound tricep overhead extension, so definitely seems legit. Only showing you the first set here again for convenience, and that's going to be a continuing theme as we move into the last exercise, which is just tricep press downs, called for sets of 10 up to a heavy set of 10. You're seeing my first set here of 70 pounds, and I think I worked up to 80, then 90, then 100, again, all for 10 reps each. So this is actually a pretty good feeling in my triceps when it was all said and done. Alright, so just got out of the gym. It was a pretty voluminous day. Is that even a word, voluminous? I don't think it is, and I'm sure you guys will let me know, but a lot of volume overall for chest and for triceps, which is something that hasn't really been included on any of the previous iterations of BBSM, and that is tricep work. So it's interesting that Dan has thrown it in this time, and it's one of the reasons why I haven't really figured out what the hell BBSM is, and I know a lot of you guys feel my pain, because even though I share my workouts and I log everything on Fitocracy, you're probably in the same boat as me, is when you sit down and look at it, it's very hard to figure out percentages and why he chooses what he does, but I can't complain because it works, and it works very well. My first 2 10-week cycles with Dan saw more gains than I've seen in a long time, and I'm hoping the same for this third time around. It'll be interesting only because this time around I am in a very slight deficit. I'm not really looking to lose a ton of weight, but I'm not looking to gain any either. So it should be interesting if that really affects overall results. I have a feeling it will, but I still have high hopes for this program, and there's only one way to tell. So this is the start of the second week, and let's just keep kicking ass. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Brandon again in the car, and as you can probably tell, you're a little bit more zoomed up in my face now. This is kind of a new attempt, and this is going to only be temporary, as you're used to seeing a more wide open shot. And one of the things you guys should know is I'm returning that other lens that I was using before. So the camera's in the same spot as I normally have been using it. However, I'm using my main prime lens, which is only 30 millimeters, which if you guys happen to give a fuck. The other one was 11-16, and I typically shot at 11 or 16 depending on how close I want it in, but this is a set distance, so I can't really change anything. So it's kind of zoomed up, and unfortunately enough, you guys have to deal with this face in HD quality, so maybe I'll downgrade it just for this. But this is also a very similar spot to where I will record with my iPhone. So for those of you that don't know, when I first started doing these car vlogs, I used my iPhone. I actually used my front-facing camera, which is only 720p, and I literally would set it like in this same spot, so you get kind of a feel for how things shoot. Now, one of the things that I'm gonna probably do, and I know you guys are, a lot of you at least, because you've told me, some of you are really interested in the lenses, some of you couldn't care less and are actually quite angry that I keep talking about it, but I'm going to be getting, I think, an 18-35 millimeter, one that I've actually had in the past that I really like, which will kind of give me the best of both worlds, because I could shoot at 30 millimeters like I can with this one right now, but also shoot more at 18, which would be fairly similar to that wide angle lens, but probably not as much distortion. So best of both worlds, but the only downside is that's a very popular lens and it's out of stock everywhere. It also retails for like 700, 800 bucks, so it's pretty pricey, but luckily enough, you guys like my videos and I make some money off of these videos, so I can put that money back into buying cool things. But maybe I'll do some more camera videos in the future. A lot of people seem to like it. It can get fairly expensive, and I will very much stress that you don't need these nice expensive cameras to have a good quality channel as long as your content is up to par. Because let's face it, if you're putting out shit, but you have a really nice camera, then all you get is HD shit, and no one still really wants to watch that. So it's all about what you put out. Now, I'm outside the gym, and I'm going to go be doing some front squats. It's a little bit different today because if you remember from last week when I did front squats, the numbers weren't really where I wanted to, and I didn't do very well. I failed, and I don't like failing, but I don't mind sharing it with you guys. So I talked to Dan and told him it was just too much for me, so we've dropped the weight as what it was supposed to be this week and kind of turned it back to kind of rehash what we did last week just to get back in the groove of things. I'm also going to be spending a lot of time today on mobility work. I got a new routine going. I will share it with you guys if it is beneficial to me. One of my friends over in the BBSM forum on Facebook helped me out. He's a physical therapist and put together a routine specifically for me based off some things he saw. So I'll give it a shot. It's a fairly long routine, so I don't want to film it just yet until I figure out if it's actually going to be beneficial. But of course I will share, because sharing is caring. And now that we had that nice moment, let's get to the actual lift. So, playing this funky ass music, and it's called 80-Year-Old Legs, and the reason why is this was probably one of the worst days I've had in a long time, and it kind of makes me laugh to listen to this music and just know how actually bad it was today. So as I mentioned, we dropped the weight down. You're seeing 305 here. The goal was to get 3 sets of between 6 to 8 reps, and in the first set you're seeing I did manage to get 6 reps. I went back to my cross arm grip. However, my hips were so freaking sore before I even got to the gym. Even after all the mobility work that I did, I felt awful. So my body just hasn't been able to keep up so far with all the work we've been doing. I fired off an email to Dan after this to kind of ask for help and ask for suggestions, just because it's pretty frustrating on my end. I then wanted to get a different view here, so I apologize for the yellow rump roast all up in your face, but this is the set where it really starts to go downhill. So I think I only manage 5 reps here, and the bar just doesn't feel comfortable. Not only were my hips really sore, and OPS, spoiler alert, I'm about to make a ton of excuses. Hips are really sore, but the bar just felt like it was falling down, and you can kind of see I start to lean forward, my shoulders start to drop, and in this last rep, I just go down, and the bar just doesn't feel like it's going to stay. So here's that last rep, and literally the bar just pretty much goes straight down. Yep, I didn't even try, but honestly, I could just feel it going. So what I then did is I actually got out of my Addy Powers and went to my New Balance Minimus. I just wanted to see if this would make a difference because I felt I was going too far forward. Maybe if I got up off my heels, it would help a little bit. And I feel that it did, but you can also see here some of the limitations of my flexibility without the raised heel, not to mention not a completely flat shoe as is, so the sturdiness of these shoes isn't there. You also get to see a great fail in this next rep. So although this felt a little bit better, these shoes just aren't there and my ankles still aren't there, and there's the fail. So a couple fails here, and I actually skipped out on my last working set, which should have been 325 for anywhere between 4 to 6. So I then instead just jumped into my shoulder work for the day. It called for sets of 10 to 12 of dumbbell shoulder press up to a heavy set of 10 to 12, and what I worked up to is sets of 80. I did this for the last couple of sets for 10 reps each. Shoulders are kind of feeling burnt out, not only from the front squats, but also because I did bench yesterday, which you guys just saw. So it's kind of interesting how he has this laid out. Not to mention, now that I think of it, I did do triceps well. And again, I did kind of preface this, which I would be making a lot of excuses and definitely doing. From there, we moved on to just some dumbbell shrugs. Is 120 pounds. Did 3 sets of 15 for these. There's no real way to keep a straight face doing so, so you get a little bit of facial action going. Anyways, those are the workouts from the last 2 days. Apologize about the second back end music, but it is what it is. And in the meantime, thanks for watching, and as always, stay big.